Hello dear listener, please subscribe to our channel. Enjoy watching. I'm not the kind of man who makes rash decisions. At least, that's what I always thought. But sometimes life throws you into situations where all the rules change. Sometimes, when you're betrayed, something inside you breaks, and when that happens, it feels like you're free to do anything. I always considered myself a decent husband. I was no saint, but I worked hard, loved my wife, Sarah, and provided a comfortable life for us both. We had a house, a dog, a steady stream of friends, and no major problems to speak of. But it didn't take long for the cracks to appear. They started small: text messages left out in the open, odd hours of work, and the occasional late night. At first, I chalked it up to her being busy or stressed. But eventually, my gut told me something was off. I'm not a paranoid man. I don't like snooping, but there's a certain point when a nagging feeling won't let you rest. It was one of those mornings when I found her phone unlocked on the kitchen counter that I finally saw it, the name Derek in her messages, a name I didn't recognize. I thought about just leaving it there, walking away, and letting her tell me when she was ready. But curiosity clawed at me. I opened the thread, and there it was: asterisk, can't wait to see you tonight. Asterisk. Asterisk, I'll make sure everything's set. You know how he is. Asterisk. And then, a message from Derek that made my heart stop: asterisk, we're almost there. It's just a matter of time. Asterisk. My first instinct was disbelief. I kept telling myself there had to be some kind of misunderstanding. But deep down, I knew. The lies, the distance, the late nights. The truth was undeniable. She was having an affair. But this wasn't just any affair. Derek wasn't some random fling. He was connected to everything. A businessman, someone who had made more than a few shady deals. Someone with enough influence to slowly bleed me dry without me even knowing. And that's when I started to realize, Sarah wasn't just having an affair. She was conspiring with him to destroy me. The plan, as I pieced it together, was insidious. She was going to push me into bankruptcy through a series of subtle accidents at work, financial mistakes I wouldn't be able to recover from. Derek, with his vast legal knowledge and business connections, was the architect. They were planning to strip me of everything I had worked for: my job, my assets, and the home that Sarah and I had built together. At that point, I felt numb, but the anger came soon after. And I wasn't about to let them get away with it. This wasn't just about infidelity. This was about revenge. But I didn't want a quick, vengeful slap. I wanted something more. Something that would make them feel every ounce of what they had done to me. I spent weeks watching, gathering evidence, waiting for the right moment. I followed Sarah when she left for her business trips and spent hours tracking her communications. Each time I learned a little more about her plans, the more I knew what I had to do. It wasn't just about confronting her. I had to make her, and Derek, suffer. But I was patient. I knew that striking too early would only give them a chance to cover their tracks. I wanted them to live in a constant state of paranoia, not knowing when the walls would come crashing down. It wasn't until the night of the dinner party that I saw my opportunity. Sarah had invited Derek over, under the guise of a casual get-together. She thought I wouldn't be home. But I had other plans. That evening, I took a trip to a specialty shop, one that sold rare, slow-acting poisons. There were many substances available, but I had something specific in mind: ricin. It's undetectable unless you know exactly what you're looking for, and it works slowly, making it perfect for what I wanted. A few granules slipped into their wine, enough to make them feel ill, but not enough to kill them outright. No, I wanted them to suffer. I wanted them to feel their bodies betray them, just as Sarah had betrayed me. I watched them through the window that night, laughing, talking, unaware of the storm brewing just outside the door. I'd set the stage for everything. They'd finish dinner, drink the wine, and start to feel the effects in about 30 minutes. Their stomachs would twist, their heads would begin to spin. And when they tried to call for help, I would be there to confront them. But as the minutes ticked by, I realized something that shook me to my core. They weren't just drinking wine, they were drinking my wine, the one I had meticulously chosen for years. It hit me, I had no idea how much they had consumed. What if it wasn't enough? What if the poison didn't work as I planned? I began to feel a flicker of doubt, something I hadn't felt in weeks. Was this too far? Was it wrong to do this? I shook my head. This wasn't about guilt. It was about justice. They had already crossed the line. I would finish this. They would pay. I kicked the door open, and they looked up at me, startled. The air felt thick with tension, suffocating. Sarah stood up, her face flushed, a glass still clutched in her hand. Derek's eyes widened as he stood to greet me, his hand too slow to reach for his jacket, too late. I had already set my trap in motion. "What is this?" Sarah asked, trying to sound nonchalant, but I could hear the quiver in her voice. "You don't have to pretend anymore," I said, my voice low and calm. "I know everything." I took a step forward, staring them down. Derek looked between Sarah and me, confusion setting in. But it didn't take long before they started to feel it, first, the faint nausea, then the dizziness. Sarah's hand tightened around the glass. She had no idea what was happening, but Derek seemed to have a better understanding. His face went pale as he took one last look at the wine. What did you do?" he asked, voice shaking. "Me?" I asked with a smile that felt too wide, too cold. "I'm just an observer. You two did this to yourselves." Panic spread across their faces. Sarah stumbled backward, clutching her chest as if to hold herself together. Derek stood frozen, eyes darting between Sarah and the wine glass in her hand. "What is it?" he asked, his voice trembling. "What did you give us?" "Ricin," I said, enjoying the irony of the word on my tongue. "It's an old trick. You won't die. Not yet. But you'll wish you were. In about 30 minutes, your insides will start shutting down. By the time you even realize what's happening, you'll be too weak to help each other. What do you want?" Sarah's voice was barely a whisper, panic finally breaking through her calm facade. "Everything," I replied. "Your secrets. Your lies. And your lives, in the end." But as I watched them squirm, something unexpected happened. Derek lunged at me, his body weak but driven by desperation. He tried to grab my arm, but in his condition, he barely made it past a few steps before collapsing. Sarah fell to her knees beside him, her face contorted in agony. And then, it hit me, the full, horrible realization that I had underestimated the poison. I had assumed it was a slow burn, that they would feel the discomfort over time. But ricin doesn't just kill, it suffocates, destroys from the inside out. They were already past the point of no return. I had intended for them to suffer in a way they would never forget. But now, as I watched them struggle for breath, their bodies convulsing, I felt no satisfaction. Only a sickening emptiness. I took a step back, still watching them as they gasped for air, their hands clutching at their throats. And that's when I heard it, Sarah's final, desperate whisper. You didn't plan this, for us, to die." I felt a cold shiver run down my spine. I hadn't planned it. But it had happened anyway. And there was no turning back. If you leave a comment, tell us what you think about the story you heard, it's important to us and will help us find and tell stories that you find interesting. Thank you for watching us.